You know that the Flat Earth grift is struggling when one of the bigger names on YouTube show up and to a smaller YouTube creator's comment section and pitch the con directly. Yeah, I'm talking about my YouTube channel where Flat Earth Dave showed up. What makes this kind of funnier is he's blocked both of my TikTok accounts. So let's read what he says. Well, you did use NASA. This is already starting interesting. Let's see where it goes. NASA is in charge of all international flights. Nope, the FAA and the ICAO are in charge of all flights. Do you trust NASA? I haven't had a reason to not trust NASA yet. Why was NASA created? It looks like to lead the nation's civilian space program and regain technological supremacy during the Cold War. Well, I know your answer, but it was created to hide the shape of Earth. Wait a minute, that's not what we just read, was it? Now the big question. Ooh, bigger questions. How in the world would it be possible for a flight that is farther than another flight take the same amount of time? Tailwinds mostly. They can help a lot. Usually around 100 miles an hour is where they sit. With a Glober brain, you would conclude it is not possible, when in fact the farther flight would just have to go faster with faster planes, the Boeing Dreamliner, and it could fly higher and take advantage of the very fast counter-rotating winds. Okay. But, he likes butts. Airlines always do the most fuel-efficient thing or they lose millions. Not just airlines. Every single company in the entire world does the most efficient thing or they will lose money because they want to make money. Well, that's not true at all. Airlines do what NASA tells them to do, and when it comes to fuel, well, there's a rabbit hole your Glober mainstream believing brain can't even fathom. All right, we all know where he's going with, he's never worked on an airline or an airplane or anything in that vertical before and somehow knows more than all of the professionals. He knows more than the engineers that build these things themselves, but let's dive into it all. So NASA's in charge of international flights. No. In the United States, air traffic control is dealt with by the FAA. They tell you where to go, not NASA. NASA has nothing to do with the FAA. And internationally, it's the ICAO, which is the International Civil Aviation Organization. NASA doesn't route planes. They don't schedule flights. You could go buy a plane yourself and fly it around wherever you want. You just have to talk to the FAA or the ICAO, not NASA at all. That's like saying NASA controls Uber routes. Does NASA control Uber routes, Dave? So with fuel efficiency. If you look here, we can see the winds. This is something that science does. We can see the winds and the wind speeds, and we can see that here's Sydney, here's Santiago, Chile, and we can see like these winds here around 100 miles an hour. These winds here around the teens. And why that is important is when we look at real flights, we notice that the planes going from west to east tend to sit higher north than the planes going east to west. And that is because these planes want to catch that 100-mile-an-hour tailwind. These planes don't. They don't want to fly into 100-mile-an-hour headwinds. So they go farther south to get into this range. The upper ones get into this. And as you can see with the difference of these two flight routes, they're not going to be the same distance because of the winds they are utilizing. Now on to they just use faster planes. The long-haul flights typically use a Boeing 787 Dreamliner, and they all cruise at roughly the same speed. Pilots don't just get to say, hey, NASA told us to crank this baby up to 1.2 Mach. That's not how aviation works. You can't just magically crank up the speed because a flat Earth map doesn't fit reality. So like every flat earther, especially the big con men, they don't try to fix the issue with flat Earth. They don't attempt to make it a working model. Instead, every time reality breaks their map, they just stack up excuses. NASA controls everything. Airlines don't use fuel. Airplanes are magically faster. That's not science. That's really weak damage control. And notice something else. Flat earthers never addressed these flights. So the Boeing Dreamliners hold 250 to 300-ish people. So at this moment in time, which was earlier today, there was 1,000 to 1,200 people in the air taking the flights that flat earthers completely ignore. And look at this. You can book this flight non-stop yourself there and back for $1,500. So if your model needs some global conspiracy, unlimited fuel budgets, and physics-breaking airplanes to work, it doesn't actually work. The flights are real, the times are real, the routes are real. Flat Earth map just fails. test the claim, don't fall for stupid shit on the internet.